Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Investor Lab, the auditory epicenter for passionate people seeking a life of freedom, choice, and abundance. And on today's show, we talk with Jacob and Jess, who are in fact using property investment to do just that as well. So we talked to them about their journey where they met and the fact that they met in university, which is really awesome. In fact, they've got such a great relationship now. But we also talk about how their property investing journey started with effectively no strategy, no investment thesis, and kind of just buying in their hometown and hoping for the best, which actually turned out pretty well in the long run. But we're also talking about how, even though they haven't yet achieved their goals, the impact of property investing has the impact that it has on their day-to-day life right now, and the way that that's transformed their mindset, and the way that that's helping them to shape a better future for themselves. So I really like this story because it really gets into the heart of what it's like when you're along the way, and and what this can kind of do for you as you progress through the journey of property investing as well. So if you are a property investor or you're thinking about property investing and you want to hear a story about people who are doing just that, then this is the episode for you. So without any further ado, I'll get stuck right into it, and I'll see you on the inside. Hey guys, welcome back to the Investor Lab. Joining me on today's show is Jess and Jacob Hyland. They are successful property investors in their own right, and I'm really excited to have them on the show. G'day, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Good.
That's good.
Excited
Guys,
to be here.
yeah, I'm super excited to have you here. It's been a little while since we last caught up, so I'm super excited to have a chat with you now and check in on a few things and how your portfolio is going and all of that kind of stuff. But before we get started, why don't you give us a little bit of a background? Tell us a little bit about who you guys are, what do you do, where are you from, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I grew up in Sydney. Did an engineering degree. That's how we met. So. Moved more into the project management space now at a private engineering consultancy.
Yep.
But yeah, we're based in Sydney now, but you're not originally from Sydney.
Yeah, no. So I grew up in Armidale, and then in high school moved to Maryborough in Queensland.
Yeah.
And then attended university at UNSW, and that's where Jess and I met.
Nice.
I think we were at a photo shoot for the engineering guide.
Yeah.
And then we're leaders on an engineering camp for high school kids.
And then, I guess after uni, started a job and been at the job for probably 8.5, 9 years now. So, and we've got one son at the moment and another bub on the way. So,
nice.
Exciting times ahead.
Life's busy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you just with the bub that's on the way? Do you guys want to know in advance what the gender is, or do you want the surprise?
We had a surprise first time round, so we were like, no, we'll do the same this time.
Awesome.
Good thing to look forward to at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Love that, guys. So let's talk property, right? Because I'm interested to dig in, because when we first met, you'd already bought an investment property. So you already had one under the belt. But I'd be interested to kind of go back, because you guys met at university, right? So presumably neither of you had an investment property when you first met. So did either of you have an interest in property before you got started?
I think it was more you finished uni a couple of years before me and had a bunch of savings and didn't really want them just sitting in the bank. So you definitely were the instigator of, I would like to buy a property, and you went with where your parents are in Maryborough, the area you know.
It was just like simple to get one where my parents were, because you kind of knew the area.
Yeah.
It was a lucky find though. Yeah. Like, we didn't really know anything about it. I mean, I was still studying, so I definitely wasn't thinking financially about properties or anything like that. So, it was very much driven by you.
Yeah, it was a property that yielded pretty well.
3-bedroom house with a pool in a good neighbourhood near town. So, and we were lucky too. The owner had friends that were wanting to move closer to town, so we could actually rent it privately at the start.
And they've been in there since the start. Yeah. So I think that was 2015 or 2016.
It was a very lucky process, because we had no idea, didn't have any professional advice or anything.
Nice. And little did you know that Maryborough would end up turning out to be quite a good performing little suburb.
Yeah.
I mean, it was flat for the first 5 years. Nothing happened at all. Yeah. And then in the last 2-3 years, it's just went crazy. But we knew it was a good street. The properties, we got it undervalued when we bought it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just been a very lucky find. But no, so far it's been a good base property for us.
Nice.
And it was positively geared. So, risk wise, we felt the repayments were covered by the rent. So it was a good starting point.
Yeah, nice. I was going to ask, did you have any investment thesis before you got into that? Were you even conscious of hey, we want to buy something that's positively geared, or did you literally just go, I have money, that one I can afford, let's buy that one? Or was there any strategy or any investment thesis behind it at all?
No real strategy at all. I mean, my dad helped us out find the property and purchase it. But other than that, there wasn't really any strategy for what we were doing. It was just
feeling our way through it.
Yeah. I mean, my parents had always owned their properties. They don't have investment properties. So I guess, Sydney was really expensive.
Yeah, we were never interested in buying in Sydney. Yeah. So
why not? Why weren't you interested in buying in Sydney?
I think ultimately we want to move out of Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
And also we did look at one stage at some apartments in the area we live, and there just wasn't a great deal of choice for our budget. And so, I think we just thought,
we didn't feel comfortable in them apartments, and we'd have to spend a lot more money to renovate them. But then the apartments didn't really improve in value too much. So
we just didn't see
cost effective for us.
We didn't see it as a good investment.
So what was the thinking then? Back at that first property, right? So you had some money saved up and you're thinking, okay, I got some money saved up, I've got to do something with it. What was the thing? You had no real strategy or investment thesis around buying a property. Did you have any goals in mind, or was it just I need to do something with my money, and so you just did that? Or was there, what was the...
No, I mean, there wasn't really any goals. I guess I needed to do something to build something for later on.
And I think it was, when we're ready to buy a place of our own, wherever that may be, we can then use either the equity in the property or sell it to then fund the next property. So,
so it was a bit, go in and do something, but a bit blind at the same respects. But it wasn't a lot of money at the end of the day. I think we bought it for 206, and now it's over 300. So it's pretty good.
And it was a low risk, as we said. The rent covered the repayments. So we were pretty happy with that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so at what point did you decide that you wanted to take property investing a little bit more seriously?
Yeah, I guess that was probably me that pushed that between the two of us. I guess we were probably pregnant. Jess was pregnant.
I was going to say,
with Artie. And I guess I was very stressed with work at that point in time. Some stressful jobs. And I was like, there has to be another way for us to build on our wealth. We'd read Barefoot Investor and a couple of other things. And through that, it was you need to make your money work for you.
Yeah.
So there was you got into putting some money in stocks, and that was a bit of a hobby for
that was a bit of a hobby, but
and then I remember you were sort of I feel like we need to diversify our portfolio, and you were listening to a heap of podcasts, and I think that's how he came across Dashdot.
And I guess from there I was like, this could be a way that we could set ourselves up for later on down the track. But so I guess that was probably 3 years ago.
It was when I was on parental leave that we had the initial discussion with you guys, because I think you listened to a webinar or you've been listening to the podcasts, and we were well, we don't want to do this again without professionals.
So why not though? Where was the roadblock, right? Because you guys had already bought one property before. So why didn't you think that you could just go and do it yourself? I'm very interested in
knowing the area. We just weren't sure where to even start with the research in terms of knowing which areas were going to be a good investment, which ones were sort of starting to show an increase in property value, or infrastructure that would see the property prices go up.
Yeah, I think, I started looking around at a few places, and then I don't know, for me to make a decision to buy something, it takes me about 6 months. So
cars, everything.
By the time I'd made a decision, it was gone anyway. So, and really didn't know what price point to go at was really a thing. So I mean, we're both in a profession that we get paid for our expertise. So we thought, we're better off getting someone to help us that we know knows the business. And
has the resources to be able to do all that research. And
and we'll get us something that, yes, there is fees at the start, but in the long term, we'll be better off. So I guess that's kind of why we reached out.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what are your goals? Because when you started investing, you had no goals, basically, effectively, right? You were just like, okay, we're just going to crack into it. What are
ultimately, if the properties can pay for, early retirement or something, that was kind of the loose goal at the end.
Yeah. Is that still your goal now?
Oh, I mean, it'd be nice to finish up work earlier, but
because I think like the initial discussion that we had with you, we were talking about potentially having enough money that we could probably work a couple of days a week. And downside and do more road trips. We do like to do that. And I guess on road trips is kind of where we make most of our life decisions.
Lots of time talking in the car.
It's the best, isn't it? Like I love going on a road trip. Me and Gabby will go on a road trip and we'll drive for hours and we won't even have the radio on. We'll just be talking the whole way along. It's great.
Yeah, it's uninterrupted time. It's good.
So I guess, with that, we were kind of hoping for it to build on that. But I guess, we've kind of changed a little bit that we want to build enough of a buffer, I guess, that we can start doing our own thing potentially one day. But
the mindset changes as we have acquired a few properties through you guys. And
so let's
just learning a lot.
Yeah, let's talk about that then, right? Because you've now got 3 properties in your portfolio. So you've got the property in Maryborough plus 2 that we've worked together on helping you acquire as well. So safe to say the goal that you've got of being able to cut back on work, do your own thing, you're not there yet, right?
No.
But I'm very interested to kind of dig in. Like how do you just high level, like how do you feel that the properties have performed? But then the follow-up question to that is what impact has that had on you today? Like, that's what I'd be interested in digging into.
Well, the first one was the Townsville place that you guys found us, and it's a duplex. So we've got 2 rental incomes coming from that.
Yeah.
And that's been great. Like Townsville's just taken off. We've seen the property value increase, which has then certainly built the equity a lot faster. We were initially like, our repayments, we'll build up the equity in it. But then where you get it revalued after the market's sort of gone up a bit, and it was like, oh, wow, okay, we've already got a decent chunk of equity in this. And we used equity from the first property we had to get the third one in WA.
Yeah.
I think we're just now seeing, and our mindset certainly changed. It was like, oh, no, we'll wait a few more years until we invest in another one. Recently, we got the WA place valued. And again, it's jumped up quite significantly in just 6 months since we've had it. So, we're seeing how good property can be to help build our wealth.
Yeah. And how go Jacob?
No, because I think at the start we did have some hiccups. And I guess we were
just with the bank.
We're
trying to negotiate, like me coming off parental leave and coming back. Although my work gave letters saying, yes, she'll be returning full time at this salary. They were like, no, we need to wait for a full pay slip. And so that was a bit tricky. And then the bank stuffed up one of the forms. So working for a property prior to the Townsville place, but worked through that. But
so I guess it was a bit of are we doing the right thing? And now that we've got them and we're starting to see like equity being built in them, like I know the last 2 years is a bit different, like a lot's going on. But we can see that it's starting to push us towards where we want to be. Because I mean, for the equity that we've got, like we wouldn't be able to work in a year and save that amount of money. So having that as a reserve to push us forward and continue on is something that's really starting to.
So our mindset's definitely shifted in terms of, this is a great thing we're working towards, and our goal is probably also added to the goal. Is being able to move out of Sydney and buy our own place in a few years' time, ideally. But it's certainly moved away from just, oh, we'll work, we'll save, money will sit in the bank and it'll grow, to okay, property's going to work well.
So how's that affected you in today's terms? So shifted your mindset a bit, because now you're like, oh wow, okay, hang on a second, these things might be a little bit more possible than I thought. Has it changed anything in your day-to-day life? Because what I've tended to find, and I'm curious about you guys, but what I've tended to find is that once you feel that momentum, once you have that kind of like, oh, hang on a second, this is working, right? It can change like kind of like how you show up today, like what you think about is possible. And it can maybe change what you want out of life, or, you know, any of these kind of things. Like I think it's a really liberating kind of experience to kind of go through. And I'm wondering if you guys have had any like direct, tangible or intangible benefits to your current life.
Yeah, I think, well, even in the last month, probably, since we got the WA place valued, we were initially like, oh, we might have to wait till after I return to work after this next baby. And now we're kind of like, oh, well, maybe we could actually do this sooner before I go on parental leave in September. You know, we're seeing we can do things faster. And yeah, it almost becomes a little bit addictive talking about and looking into property. And
yeah, like I guess
it's exciting.
Yeah. We love road trips and that sort of stuff. So I guess before we had the properties, it was always a lot of money to do that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, it's things that we're looking forward to more so.
Yeah.
I guess a bit of a mind shift that we can do these things and it's not going to affect us long term. Because I guess going on holidays, you're spending a bit of money. So yeah, feeling a lot more comfortable with doing some of them things for us rather than
and ultimately,
just putting into properties just so it's there and then not living our best life. So yeah, we're trying to push ourselves so we can like have a bit of a mix of both.
Happy to work, but it'd be nice, you know, to take a couple of years off and travel around Australia and do things like that. And bonus if the properties, you know, are essentially paying for themselves, if not making us money. You know, that's the best scenario.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, definitely where we see ourselves in, you know, 10, 20 years just changes, and it's exciting.
That's super exciting. And have you got to like, have your family been property investors? Have you got any family and friends that are property investors? What's your kind of like personal network like?
Parents, no.
Yeah.
My brother's bought one through you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My brother recently bought one on the Central Coast. They ended up finding it themselves. And it was again more, Sydney was unaffordable, but they wanted to do something with their money. But I think they've seen already, they held it for 6 months and were, you know, essentially living in it part of the time. Now they're getting it rented out, and already just in that 6 months, what they thought they could rent it for has jumped. So I think they're pretty excited by that. So I wouldn't be surprised if as they sort of finish their studies, him and his wife, they start to look at it again.
And were you guys the first ones to be investors? Right.
In our families.
In your families?
In our immediate families, yeah.
I mean, the more people we talk to, the more we find out there's either like two friends of mine, it's you buy your home to live in or you've invested in property. So there's some friends that have bought their own home, and then there's others that have an investment property, but I guess them investment properties, I guess, are really close to where they live. And I guess our strategy is with you guys has been a little bit different. But
the more people we speak to about our investment journey, the more interested they are about buyer's agents, because it's something people have only started to really hear about recently, except for one of our friends who she bought a few through a buyer's agent. So it was nice actually talking to her before we engaged with you guys to be like, was this worth it? Like, was it a good thing going through a buyer's agent? And she was like, oh yeah, definitely. And she works in banking. And she found it really good. But now we get to kind of share our experiences with people, and it gets them really excited about it. So it's becoming more of a thing, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, because I tend to find that it's fairly common that like property investing can be quite a lonely sport. Like often, you know, you might not have a huge network of other people, or you might be the catalyst that then inspires a lot of other people to go and do that kind of stuff. So what advice would you have to someone who is not yet investing in property, but is maybe thinking about it? What advice would you give them?
I think going through a buyer's agent certainly took a lot of the risk factor out for us. We felt like we had confidence in you guys and your expertise and your team. You've got quite a specialized team that all take on different parts of the process. It was really nice, even once we, put an offer in, we didn't know what the next steps were. So having a clear guide and people organizing, the conveyances and building and pest, it was really, that bit was nice, and setting us up with great real estate agents at the end, because we don't know the area and which agents are good to go with. So yeah, my advice would be to engage a professional, at least for the first one. But yeah, it's interesting also, I think, chatting to people who live in the home that they own and haven't looked into property. They get very much like, oh, you should negatively gear this. And there's a lot of opinions. So I think just trying to weed out some of those, and doesn't just because people have an opinion on property doesn't mean they're right or that's their experience. So yeah, just trust your gut.
I was going to say, how do you respond to that? Like if you've got a friend who's, because you kind of now do have an investment thesis and a strategy, and you're kind of like, okay, now you're on to, how do you navigate those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, I just explain what we've done, getting them positively geared. Negatively geared, you're still losing money at the end of the day. But the grand scheme of it is you're losing money and you're getting some of that back. So if you have a property that is positively geared, you're ahead. So I guess it's more just trying to explain what we're doing and make sure that
and that doesn't mean it'll be what everyone chooses. Some people, we've chosen to buy lower value properties that have a good yield and rental return and everything. Other friends we know have gone for a much higher value property because they felt that they could get more rent for a higher value property, which sometimes works. But everyone has their own way of doing it. So we just kind of stick with our own plan. We let people have their opinion, but just at the end of the day, it's for us to decide.
Yeah, it's up to us.
Yeah, totally. What's the biggest lesson you've learned so far in your property investing journey?
Lesson.
Make sure the bank knows who should sign the forms.
That's right.
For Queensland properties, you need a justice of the peace to sign the mortgage form.
Yeah.
I guess like a pretty big lesson or learning, I guess, is that we've made money work for us. We're not working for the money.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest things that has been a lesson to us. And I guess that is exciting for us too.
Yeah, and finding the right team. I think you need to have trust and confidence in the team and what they're doing. And we, being engineers, we like to understand the problem and do our research. So when we get the spreadsheets of the numbers and the property or the area reports, we like to go through those. So understanding it properly, I think, gives you that confidence that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm curious, right? So you guys have got one son and then another child on the way.
Yep.
How do you think that your experiences in investing are going to shape the way that you educate your kids about money? And a follow-up question to that is, how do you think your life might have been different if you had been able to then give yourself that advice in a sense when you were a kid, if you got the same kind of guidance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very keen to teach him, our current son, and whatever our next baby is as well, about investing. I mean, for both of us, I guess money was a little bit tight when we were younger, so it probably wasn't spoken about too much. As in, say we were both of the same mindset of saving is the best thing for us, because then we've got an avenue later on.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the whole money in the bank is then your money, but it doesn't have to be in the bank for it to still be your money. Like it can be in
so hopefully we can kind of teach and show what we've done along the way as well.
But it's interesting,
I want to be pretty open with that.
Yeah, like you've grown up with your parents owning the properties they've lived in, and it's been, pay it off as quickly as possible, that mortgage, so you don't have any debt. Until I was 9, we lived in our own place, and then we sold and we're renting the rest of the time, which was fine. That worked for us in Sydney and financially for my parents. So I had quite a different thing there. So it's funny how we've then gotten into property investing because neither set of parents were into it. So I think educating the kids will be good. But the market or the way people go about investing in property is potentially going to change in that time. So we'll just guide them and show them what we're doing and how it's worked for us, and just help them out where we can.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm curious, right? So let's say fast forward a few years, and let's say that you've built the property portfolio that gives you everything you want, gives you all the freedom and choice that you could desire. You can, live life on your own terms. What are you going to do?
I mean, ideally we'll be, have a bit of land somewhere out of Sydney and be able to set up our own business and work for ourselves.
Yep.
I mean, we don't mind what we do now, but I think working together in the home office throughout COVID has shown us that we quite like working together in the same space. And
that's good.
Yeah, the road trip we just did, there was lots of that chat of what would our business be, and how can we end up working for ourselves? So if our property portfolio can help get us there, that's the ultimate goal. It's just timing, I guess.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, as we said, the more road trips we can do and see more of Australia, the better.
I guess, we want our kids to experience outdoors a lot more. I guess the property that we'd probably want would be acreage. So anywhere from 20 to 100 acres, enough for children to raise their own, if it is cattle or chickens or sheep, and just see a different side of things as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I kind of grew up like that. So when we were younger, my parents managed to take us around Australia on a road trip for 3-4 months or whatever that was. And I was 5, but I still remember it vividly. It was it's burned in there. I'm like, wow, it was such a transformative experience. And also
memories.
Oh, it's such good memories, being out there and experiencing the world. And, it was awesome that my parents were able to do that. I mean, they had long service leave and stuff like that, which allowed them to do that. But being able to create that, manufacture that own freedom in your own life is huge. And it's so impactful on your kids and everything like that. And also growing up in the country, we grew up with enough space to be able to ride dirt bikes and drive cars around the backyard and have chicks and chickens and ferrets. And so, it's huge. I really resonate with that. Which, and that's the good thing, is because all of the things you want, you're actually setting yourself up to be able to do all of that kind of stuff now, which is super exciting.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, that's not everyone's end goal. Some people, it might be that they're wanting to be able to afford that really big house in a major city, but for us, it's to get out to the country lifestyle and live comfortably off our property portfolio.
Yeah, and I guess not stress about repayments or anything, be there and be able to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. So curious, why aren't you rent vesting and doing that now?
Oh, we rent in Sydney.
Yeah. But you could move out. You could move out to the country now and rent.
Yeah, we've considered it. I mean, it's been really convenient. My parents live a suburb away. The mothers groups and things like that. We've set up a bit of a network here. So it's all a bit too convenient having the grandparents nearby.
Particularly with a young family, right?
Yeah. So we've found that for that reason, we just want to stay close to them for the moment. But we're sort of looking at around the time our son starts school, a year or two before that, to figure out where we want to be and settle there so that we can start finding our community.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's fast forward again and imagine that your last days on earth, right? And you've achieved everything that you set out to achieve. You built the property portfolio that gives you the freedom that you want. You started your own business. You bought 100 acres with a beautiful house on it, raised the kids there, went on all the road trips, saw everything, did everything, ticked all the boxes. You've lived a full and rich life. But the moment that you pass away, everything that you've ever had and everything you've ever built and everything you've ever created, except the kids, of course, you're going to be wiped from the face of the earth. No memory that you're ever there. But you get to leave behind 3 simple truths or lessons that you would give to the world as a gift that will live on forever in your absence. What would you leave behind?
I think for us, a big thing is focusing on the time, or focusing on the things that bring you joy, which is, time with family, experiences with family and friends. Big thing for us is we work to live, not live to work. So yeah, it's making sure that quality time is the focus. So that's probably my big one.
Yep.
What would be yours?
I think one of the ones that I had was the only person in life that you need to impress is yourself. So I guess throughout, the past 10 years or however long, there's always so many people telling you what you should do, but you don't need to impress them by what you're doing. Stick to your own morals, and
you don't need to
your own values and go forward, because you're the only person you need to impress, and
you're the only one putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
So
and then I think the third one is just about like giving back, and we've both grown up like volunteering, whether that be giving back in terms of time or money or something in the community. Like we've both been, you're still a part of our local SES unit. I was prior to kids, but yeah, that's always been a really big part of our lives, and definitely want to instill that in our kids' lives as well.
Yeah, love it. I couldn't agree more. I think giving back is one of the biggest and best things you can do. It's so enriching and so fulfilling. So
we've noticed a few other couples you've interviewed have had the same thing.
Yeah.
It seems to be a common trend. It's great.
Yeah, and it is. And I think that's one of the, it's a really inspiring thing for me to be able to hear and see. And it's a really common thing that most people want to give back. Like there's a fairly common pathway for pretty much any investor. What they're trying to do is they're trying to buy back time, freedom, choice, and abundance, right? And then usually it's because they want to be able to give back and contribute, whether it's be to their immediate family, immediate community, or global community. But it's about contribution. It's about how can I show up more and give more of myself to others or the world around me. And I think that's awesome. So yeah, it's great to hear. Love it. Awesome, guys. Well, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, or anything else you want to share before we leave?
I think so.
No, pretty good. Just, I guess, biggest thing is suit yourself and tread your own path. You're the only one that's going to make a difference in your future.
Love it. On that note, let's wrap it up and leave it there. Guys, awesome to have you on the show. Great chat. Great to catch up. And I'm excited to see where your future goes, particularly as we help you continue to scale out your property portfolio. So awesome. Great to see you guys. Speak soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.